you know, he's very mad at me, and I know you're close to him.
I've heard of
I
that.
hope you tell him that, you know, I'm sorry that, you know, they got bent out of shape. I don't think I did anything wrong. We can have disagreements.
I agree.
I mean, you and I don't agree on everything. Look at this clash now. And yet we're cool. You know, sometimes I am a little brash about me when they compare me with the other late night guys. And I'm like, I'm not like you guys. I'm not. You could all exchange your monologues, all of you, and no one would know the difference in tone. Tone, okay?
Tone, yeah.
Whereas me, I'm not there. I'm not
agree.
in on your, I don't just buy into the left-wing bullshit. And I never stop making fun of the right-wing bullshit.
Bill Maher has fired blistering attacks at Jimmy Kimmel and the country's late-night political comics, and social media is on fire. Maher, once close with Kimmel, opened up about how their friendship unraveled because he wouldn't walk the same road Kimmel chose. He pulled no punches, aiming biting criticism at late-night personalities over what he calls obvious hypocrisy. Believe me, it was explosive. So if you're hungry for fiery political commentary, tap subscribe and let's jump straight in.
That bugs me so much. My tribe is supposed to be the left, but these are the people who just can't talk to you unless you're exactly there. Whereas the Republicans, they always fucking come to my show. John Kennedy from Louisiana was on last week, took his beating like a man, like they all do, and we came across lovingly and smilingly and happily, and we can disagree.
I agree.
You and I aren't always completely on the same page, although we're very close because we're both smart guys. But, like, I just don't get
Maher didn't hold back as he vented about his own political camp. In his view, too many people on the left have isolated themselves from anyone who doesn't mirror their exact beliefs. They remain sealed inside their own circles. Echo chambers where identical progressive talking points are repeated again and again without scrutiny. It may feel safe, but he argues it also breeds weakness. When they step beyond that comfort zone and encounter real opposition, someone who challenges their assumptions or pushes back, they often struggle to present a solid defense of their stance. Maher believes this is a serious issue because it stifles genuine debate and damages credibility. His frustration isn't only about the lack of open dialogue. He thinks it ultimately harms the very causes they say they support. For him, being unable to tolerate opposing views isn't merely irritating. It poses a real threat to meaningful political discussion.
bullshit at all.
Right.
And, like, if that's not good enough for you, then I think you're the asshole. And I don't think Jimmy is an asshole.
No,
I think
not.
he's a great guy. And it bugs me that, you know, because of what the latest thing was, that, you know, we may never talk.
You guys should be thick as thieves and on the same page. And I'll tell you something interesting, talking about left and talking about right.
Even as Bill Maher slips in a few understated jabs at Jimmy Kimmel, he's also signaling that he's open to reconciliation. He makes it clear that disagreement doesn't have to equal animosity. And truthfully, he has a point. No society thrives if everyone shares identical feelings, beliefs, policies, or political views. A range of perspectives is both natural and essential in a healthy democracy. Still, people too often treat any dissent as betrayal, casting opponents as enemies. Maher criticizes that mindset, arguing it's neither thoughtful nor constructive. Differences should ignite dialogue, debate, and even sharp exchanges, but never personal attacks or attempts to silence opposing voices. For him, this goes beyond a personal rift with Kimmel. It reflects a larger message about tolerance and intellectual integrity. The ability to disagree respectfully signals strength and maturity, and those who see it as weakness are missing the bigger picture.
Rubber stamp. I mean,
well, maybe
you can't tell me that Congress
I don't mean Congress. I mean, like, amongst the tastemakers, you know, your sort of Tucker Carlsons, your Candace Owens, your Ben Shapiro's.
You're right, they're all over the map.
They're all battling
They're fighting each other.
Right, and on the left, everyone's sort of lockstep in terms of the tastemakers.
Right, Ben Shapiro, Yarmulke, Tucker Carlson, Hitler.
Right,
Not so bad.
Right. So
what the fuck?
But all I'm saying is whether you agree or disagree.
Let's be honest. It's not an all-out war. but Bill Maher and Jimmy Kimmel are clearly at odds. And in many ways, that tension reflects the core of democracy itself. Debate, friction, and competing ideas. That's how arguments are challenged and improved. But can the same openness be found everywhere on the political spectrum? Maher suggests not. He argues that many on the left privately disagree with the far left, yet hesitate to say so publicly. Instead of voicing concern, they quietly fall in line, wary of backlash or social exile. That's not solidarity, he contends, it's intimidation. And when disagreement becomes off-limits, democratic discourse begins to wither. Maher's critique cuts deeper when he points to moments of selective outrage. When Kimmel faced backlash over controversial remarks, plenty of commentators rushed to defend him. Yet on The View, the usually outspoken panel was noticeably restrained. After several days, they declared that no one could silence them. Maher's counter was blunt. No one needed to. They chose silence themselves. The controversy intensified when Kimmel was briefly sidelined following remarks from his show. Maher didn't revisit every detail, but he sharpened his criticism toward the hosts of The View, accusing them of staying quiet while someone in their orbit faced cancellation. These are figures who often speak about free expression and fairness, until, he argues, defending those principles becomes inconvenient. In his view, their silence seemed calculated, a safer option than risking online backlash.
It wasn't a good look for the woman party that all the guys were speaking out for Jimmy Kimmel when Trump went after him, except on the woman's show, where for 5 days the outspoken hosts were suddenly as quiet as a geisha. Then on the 5th day, they rose and said, "No one silences us. No one had to. You silenced yourself."
Much like Jimmy Kimmel, the panelists on The View openly embrace progressive branding, but their outrage, critics argue, isn't always consistent. They're energetic and forceful when criticizing the right, turning missteps into major moral flashpoints. Yet when similar scrutiny could be directed inward, the tone often shifts. The heated panels and accountability speeches seem to fade. Bill Maher labels that pattern as clear-cut hypocrisy. In his view, principles that only surface when politically convenient aren't genuine convictions. They're performance. He suggests the silence isn't random, but calculated. Speaking out would mean examining their own side with the same intensity, and that's a spotlight they appear reluctant to face. Instead, he argues, allies close ranks and let controversy blow over. Maher's frustration boils down to one point. You can't claim moral authority while applying your standards unevenly. When values are enforced selectively, it stops being principle and starts looking like virtue signaling.
You know, it's just an upbeat party show. That's why they hired people named Joy and Sunny and Whoopi. But, you know, girls, let me go out strong, okay? It won't kill you. I promise. It's happened to me, and I may go out after this show. We don't know. We don't know. And, you know, Jimmy, look, I don't think what he said was exactly right. I don't. We don't agree on that.
Even in this segment, Bill Maher is unmistakably standing up for Jimmy Kimmel, and that alone signals the respect he still holds for him. This isn't about personal hostility. It's about drawing a principled boundary. Maher isn't aiming to dismantle Kimmel's reputation. He's making a broader point about where he believes comedy should stand. According to Maher, the real divide stems from his refusal to participate in what he sees as performative political orthodoxy shaping much of late-night television. He argues that relentless targeting of figures like Donald Trump and the MAGA movement has become routine, almost expected. His objection, he says, isn't rooted in allegiance to Trump, but in resistance to turning satire into one-sided political messaging. Maher maintains that sharp comedy should challenge every side, not just the one that earns applause from a particular audience. That stance sets him apart and, in his view, unsettles others. In today's media environment, striving for balance is often interpreted not as independence, but as disloyalty. And that's a game Maher has no intention of playing.
Fool's errand to try to say that these nuts who do these things are any team. Jimmy's wrong, I think, to put him in one team. But, you know, look at what this guy is doing. I mean, Jimmy has every right to be wrong, but look at this guy. He was doing porn video games with furries. He was on a game called Furry Shades of Gay 3. This kid is in his basement with VR goggles on, getting virtually ass-fucked by a cartoon wombat? And you're gonna put politics into this?
Even in this segment, Bill Maher is unmistakably standing up for Jimmy Kimmel, and that alone signals the respect he still holds for him. This isn't about personal hostility. It's about drawing a principled boundary. Maher isn't aiming to dismantle Kimmel's reputation. He's making a broader point about where he believes comedy should stand. According to Maher, the real divide stems from his refusal to participate in what he sees as performative political orthodoxy shaping much of late-night television. He argues that relentless targeting of figures like Donald Trump and the MAGA movement has become routine, almost expected. His objection, he says, isn't rooted in allegiance to Trump, but in resistance to turning satire into one-sided political messaging. Maher maintains that sharp comedy should challenge every side, not just the one that earns applause from a particular audience. That stance sets him apart and, in his view, unsettles others. In today's media environment, striving for balance is often interpreted not as independence, but as disloyalty. And that's a game Maher has no intention of playing.
And finally, new rule, stop saying that Whoopi Goldberg getting yanked from The View right after she attacked me on The View is karma. There's no such thing as karma, sorry. Sorry, but life is random. The only word to describe it when a big game hunter gets trampled by an elephant and then eaten by lions is hilarious. Now, I mentioned this karma stuff on the show last week because I was relating how many texts and emails I got from people congratulating me on receiving a karmagram from the universe in the form of Whoopi Goldberg's chastisement.
This may well be the point where Bill Maher and Jimmy Kimmel began drifting in different directions. Maher openly criticized what he sees as Kimmel's tendency to frame nearly everything through a political lens, making it clear he believed that shift was a mistake. And he hasn't limited that critique to one host in recent years. Many late-night programs have leaned heavily into political commentary, turning monologues into pointed critiques and satire into partisan messaging. The easygoing charm that once defined the format, light-hearted sketches, playful interviews, and humor about everyday absurdities, has, in Maher's view, taken a back seat. What audiences often receive now are sharp political takes and commentary shaped by a consistent ideological perspective. Maher argues that this transformation risks undermining what made the genre appealing in the first place. Late night was once a space to unwind and laugh, not a nightly seminar on political alignment. That's why his criticism extends beyond Kimmel. He sees it as part of a broader evolution reshaping the entire late-night landscape.
Hate them.
Goldberg shouldn't have to conform to or apologize for her views on race, as much as I disagree with them. And she certainly shouldn't have to sit out like a child and think about what she did. The View suspending someone for sharing a view is like firing Pat Sajak for selling
Bill Maher also spoke out when Whoopi Goldberg was temporarily taken off air over remarks many considered inappropriate on The View. Regardless of what she said, Maher's position remained steady. She had the right to express her views without losing her platform over it. That consistency reflects his broader philosophy. He supports free expression even when he disagrees with what's being expressed. In his view, responding to controversial speech with punishment, especially in the realm of comedy or commentary, creates a troubling precedent. Critique the words, challenge the ideas, debate the arguments, but don't silence the speaker. That distinction, he argues, is where many people lose sight of the principle When Maher criticizes Jimmy Kimmel, he frames it not as personal hostility, but as a difference in outlook. Disagreement, in his mind, isn't a declaration of war. Adults can strongly clash over politics, tone, or creative direction and still maintain respect. For Maher, that's the essence of it. You don't cancel your friends, you argue with them.